welcome to the flow.
Today's snafu, entirely my fault. So don't you all be thinking that Colin is disorganized. This was totally my fault, but we promise that we'll get him back on the show soon. But start thinking about those questions for Colin. And hey, maybe ask them here today, and then you can compare and see how Colin answers them later.
Yeah,
So.
I'll do my best to bring the Scottish accent.
No, let's not insult the Scottish.
I can't.
Martin might be watching.
I don't want Katie to make fun. The other Katie to make fun of me.
Yeah.
All right, so here's what we're gonna do, gang. We're gonna press record on this bad boy, and we're gonna give you an opportunity to open mic it, so you guys can ask whatever questions that you might have. Some, it could be anything, whatever you have. 8 to 80, blind or crazy, just ask the question. That means even Paul can answer questions.
And if you don't ask questions, I'm just gonna keep talking about all the cool stuff that Doc helped me set up in my studio here. So
I bought a new set. I'm actually kind of excited about it. I didn't open it yet because I was gonna make a reel about just what it is. But like, listen, people, the best $20 you'll ever spend. Just buy a good set of these and take those AirPods and save them for jogging because it's not what they're for. All right, let me go ahead and start the thingy. All right, here we go. We're gonna woosah. Woosah. And 5, 4. Aloha, Flow Riders, and welcome to another edition of The Flow. I am in pain. I'm Doc.
I'm kind of in pain, but I'm also Katie. Doc and I have varying levels of muscle and limb failure. Doc much worse than mine. So.
Welcome to Old People Podcast.
Welcome to the Old People Podcast. Look, we're Doc and Katie. We're here to answer questions not related to muscle pain because we don't want to talk about that.
It was. I was talking to my PT guy, and he's like, 32. I'm like, listen, just enjoy what it feels like to grab something from the bottom shelf of your cabinet without making a single sound. And he looked at me and he's like, what? I go, yeah, even as a PT, you have no idea, bro. You're going to go to grab something from down low, and there are going to be words that come out, and your grandma might not be proud of him. And he just laughed at me like, anyway. So we're gonna do Q&A today. We have some people in our live studio audience dropping questions. So we're gonna get to those. We want to remind you that every Tuesday at noon, something on the East Coast. I don't do time zones in Hawaii, but we record this show. So if you want to come by and ask questions live, you can. You can also drop them on our website. What's that thing called?
Flow.ecamm.com. You can leave voicemails, you can email us, or you can use the contact form. So lots of choices there.
It said, do not operate heavy machinery or podcasts while taking said medication.
I'll answer questions today, and Doc will just sit here looking pretty.
All right, so let's go. We got our first question came from Rich. Richie Rich says, what are the functional difference between recording directly on the Rodecaster Pro and recording in Ecamm? Nothing. I just want to go ahead and say that nothing. Here is something that I find absolutely funny. And listen, Rich, listen, because I don't have a nice way to say it, I just don't say it, but I'll tell you because we're friends. We don't process audio. When I say we, in this particular case, I'm talking ECAMM, Ecamm. You can find out more at ecamm.com. We don't process audio at all. So when people say, oh, my audio coming out of Ecamm sounds funny, the back of my head, I'm going garbage in. Because we are a direct line core audio pass-through. Without getting into any nerdery, if you say something here, now, as you know from 6th grade, that thing where you sit on the ground and you telephone, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Where you say red chickens, and by the time it gets into Luis, we're talking about bread flickings or whatever. Mm-hmm. That happens a little bit because that's just digital audio pass-through. It is not an exact pure copy, but the level of degradation that happens is not even inaudible. if I could tell you what it is in Delta, we're talking about point dot something 00, that. Like it's really, really small. I have recorded samples in Ecamm and opened them up in a DAW, Audition in this particular case, because Audition has an ability to check a sample and tell you all the stats about it. And then I've taken the same thing directly, say, from the Rodecaster Pro, and put them side by side and compare them, and the spectral analyst is spot on. I mean, like it's funny. It's less than a half a width of a hair apart, and you got people who will swear that their recording in Ecamm sounds different than they recorded it, with whatever utility tool or whatever. And I'm like, no, man, no, it's just not the case. But yeah, so technically nothing. The one advantage that you have being an owner of a Rodecaster Pro, lean in closely, Rich. Real G's choose both.
I was gonna say have it. I was gonna say have it as a backup, or have both. You
Exactly.
turn both on so that you have
It's not
backups.
going to cost you nothing. It's not going to cost you any more than one of these little wee guys. And this is a tiny, tiny micro SSD. You can't see on the listening podcast, but audio people, I'm holding up the smallest little XD micro. And for basically $24 to buy a 250 gig 56 gig SD micro from the Best Buy, you can record for about 100 and something hours. So why not record both? Anyway.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we're
All
in
right.
an audio kick because I see. I'm going to ignore Gretchen's question because she wants to know what gear you bought under the influence of post surgery. La 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 la. Moving on to Neil's question. Doc's having fun with pictures these days. Moving on to Neil's question.
Yeah.
Out of all the audio AI, sorry, out of all of the audio. Okay, one more time. Out of all of the AI audio, that's a lot of ass sounds, processing tools out there, which one would you recommend?
Neil, come here, Neil. Lean in real close. All of them. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. Neil. At this moment in time, this magic moment, that's what it is. At this moment in time, they leapfrog each other week to week to week to week to week to week. So it's really hard to put a foot on any one. You almost have to uh you know channel your best Puerto Rican skills from Luis and I, put some chicken feet in a pan and then light two candles on the side and start singing Santeria incantations and shuffle the feet and read the bones and pick one. I mean, honestly, there's so many good stuff out there, and um yeah, unfortunately they all very good, and they all very, very they all lack in the same thing. And so Neil's follow-up comment was, I need to make a comparison video. And
Yeah,
I'm going to tell you, like, this is
get
super
me
funny,
outdated
right? Here's the thing.
immediately.
I I
Okay.
I hope that Anna is listening to this, because yesterday on ENN, it was really cute. Anna and Fulgens were trying to compare Gemini and ChatGPT.
Mhm.
And right now, right now, Anna's on honeymoon with Gemini, which I fully understand, as am I, right? But FJ put in her prompt into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT gave an answer, but it wasn't the answer that Anna wanted. Welcome to most of us men. Anyway, I didn't say that. They will understand. then, and then they posited the same question to Gemini, and Gemini put it out in the exact same tablature format that Anna wanted. And so her brain immediately goes, Gemini's better because it gave that result. Here's the thing about AI. You could ask that question to Chad 8, 9, 10 different times and get 8, 9, 10 different answers.
Yep.
AI. It is not, this is the answer verbatim AI. That's not what it is.
Mhm.
So the there's a difference between paradiola and the other one. One of them is when you're recognizing a pattern where a pattern does not exist,
Mm.
and the other one is adding a pattern, just ad nauseum, right? I think because Gemini gave what it want, you added the pattern that therefore Gemini must be better, and in this case, it is not. They are very similar, and the real answer is right now choose both. And I do get the drama. For most people, choosing $20 for chat and $20 for Google One is like I gotta pick one.
Mhm.
And my the grown person running a business, do you really though? It's 20 bucks. Like until you can build the flow around it. Gemini One comes with like 3 months free anyway. So like I don't know, like I would spend more time coming up with a system to get the results you want instead of assuming that one is better than the other. Because right now, the best thing to do for language models is use all of them. And nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants a definitive answer, but there's not. And I think for Neil's question, point is that with the audio tools that are out there, and yeah, this is the part that's jacked up about the majority of the audio tools that are out there. They're all using the standard language models that exist. They're putting pretty front ends on them.
Mm.
So, want a way to do it that's not, say, cost prohibitive, then what you might want to do is do them by hand using the regular language model for a while until you figure out which one you feel rolls a little bit better for you. And I know that be difficult, but hey, you're trying to do something that's hard anyway. So yeah, I know what I'm trying to say is yes, the tools are out there. There is no straight answer to which is better at this moment in time. My favorites are between Opus and Descript. But everything's getting better every single day. This today, here's my definitive answer. Okay, now I got it. Today will be the crappiest that AI will ever be.
Yep. Yeah.
You say that
Yeah.
again tomorrow and the next day.
It is amazing. And I don't we have not yet dived into a masterclass on this, but coming soon. It's my one of the ones I started playing with almost immediately following Podfest was CastMagic. So if you haven't heard yet of CastMagic, this one is like
Very good.
this one is like a mix between Opus and Descript and like all of the other tools. And it actually doesn't do video at all. It only pulls in the audio, but it gives you all of the chapter markers, notes. It can generate emails, blog posts. So I'm totally with you, Doc. I think it's a little bit wild, wild west, and it's going to be really easy to get whiplash from the amount of tools that are coming out and how fast they're all updating and what they're all offering. So I think it's a matter of like test and play as you're able to. Keep an eye on what what everyone else is talking about and things that they like or don't like about it. But yeah, build a system, and then find the tools that work the best for the system that works for you.
And I must say this is a very important thing because this happens to my brain on a daily basis. Okay, so it's not just me. I know a lot of people that do this. So when you go to check out one of these new tools, they come out and first things first, they will have a monthly thing. And then they'll
Yep.
have an annual, right? So I'm gonna just use CastMagic as an opportunity because this is right here in front of me.
Yep.
CastMagic is $40 a month. For all intents and purposes, unless your podcast is banking, that's kind of a lot, but we're enterprise, so we can do it. That's different for average person out there. They're not gonna do that. If you do it annually, it goes all the way down to 23. Yo, that's skip 2 Starbucks and a ham and manchego in your square. Sorry, Luis. Um, and that includes 300 minutes and some unlimited follow-up loads, multiple workspaces, whole 9 yards. We will get into the particulars.
Yep.
So what happens is because you can save 40% doing it annually, a lot of people will just dive in and jump an annual plan. Yes, it's going to cost you more to just buy that first month and use it like a beast for that first month. Use it on your back catalog, use it on things that you already know what the outcome is,
Yep.
and then see how that works. Is your podcast worth throwing 39 bucks at it to see if this tool is going to be dope? Yeah. If it's not, stop podcasting. I'm gonna be
Yeah.
mean. I'm being honest. Like if it's not worth 40 bucks for you to test out a CastMagic, you probably shouldn't even be podcasting.
Yeah.
But if you're just having fun, you don't need any of these tools. Let's just start there. Let me take some of the pain back. Okay, now put ice on it. Okay, let me just rub this real quick. Okay, if you don't need any tools, you don't need them at all. So don't worry about it.
The
But
the other
if you're
thing the other thing
speed,
that a lot of people do, that I didn't really like think about or consider, but again, you and I are in a bit of a different position than some people out there. But is that there are a lot of deal site tools out there,
Paul.
right? Yeah, right. And so like people like Paul who are really smart about it, they just keep an eye on that and literally anything that could be relevant or helpful or new or upcoming, they will sell lifetime access for very cheap, like $10, $20, like under for 40 or 50 certainly. So you could play kind of at the same level as Paul and Stephanie and Tanya Smith and a whole bunch of these other incredible people out there and just stock your arsenal while the playing field is hot with a whole bunch of them. You run the risk of 8 to 10 of the 20 that you buy are going to go under or are not going to be the same tool later or whatever's going to happen to them. But then you might find the 2 or 3 that everyone else has to pay hundreds for down the road that you got for $10. So that,
Yeah.
that game might be worthwhile if you can be really clever. But again, you need to know what your workflow or your system is and like the kinds of tools that might really save you time and are worth playing around with some of that money. That's playing around money and money that you have in your podcast bank for saying like, okay, I'm going to spend $100 this year on buying a bunch of different tools that might really improve my workflow and system. And maybe some of that money is wasted and probably a lot of it is going to be really helpful down the road. So yeah, AppSumo is kind of one of the main ones in that game, but there are certainly others out there to keep tabs on and keep emails for. And most of them will give you lifetime access to that tool. And basically you're paying to be like a beta tester and paying to get in the
100%.
club before it's Kickstarter kind of vibes.
Now, I just want to run something back, and he didn't correct me, but he could just be being nice because he's British. What if Neil was talking about audio processing as in adding a little bass, fixing a little high,
Yeah,
taking out a
I
little
was
noise?
I was wondering that while we were talking.
Okay, so if we run it back that way, I'm going to hands down point blank, full stop, Auphonic, end of story. Why? I have over a decade using this software. Adobe is amazing and it's free. So for all you people that's balling on the budget, then use Adobe Podcast Enhancer because it's absolutely free. Auphonic you can use free for most people's podcasts. It depends on how long you talk. If you talk a lot, then you're gonna have to pay. But you can do things like Katie said, buy $100 worth of credit, which will last you like 8, 9, 10 months, and then just refill the credit that way. Or you can do the monthly, which has rollover, in which they just keep adding. So you get 2 hours a month for free, and then they roll it over so you can kind of stockpile depending on what you do. So if Neil, if you were, and please tell us in the chat if that's what you meant. If that's what you
Feels
meant,
like
the answer is Auphonic, and well, the other side of that answer is Colin. It probably would say Alitu, but he wasn't here to defend himself, so that's not my fault, Colin. Talk to Katie.
So Neil, it was referring to audio enhancement
Then
tools
why
like they
didn't
were
you
talking
say
about.
something,
No,
player?
we
You let me wax raps. Me and Neil gonna
No,
fight.
we answered another question that someone had but was too afraid to ask or someone was thinking about. I've been thinking and I went off on my diatribe because shout out to Tanya. So Tanya Smith, who many of you probably know, but if you don't, look
Love
her up.
her. She's
Get
so
Noticed
funny.
with Video is her podcast, which I've had the pleasure of being on, and many of you have as well. But she actually is just starting a new, I believe it's a podcast and a community all about tools, like all about kind of tool fatigue and how to approach signing on for tools and what to buy and what not to buy and how to stop having 800 of them that you're not using. So if you're in that space, which I'm constantly approaching that line and then backing away from it. So I know how it feels, but if you're in that space, that she's a great resource to kind of
All
dive
right,
into that.
I have a question. I'm curious. I have a question.
Uh-oh. Doc's gonna get judgy about it.
Oh,
I see the
how do you
judgy face.
know? How do you know? Oh my God, Katie, make it
App
stop.
Therapy. It's called App Therapy. It's her new
How
podcast.
do
Thanks, man.
you know? Okay, I who in the All right, let's back this up. I'm a
Don't be mean to
woodworker.
Tanya. We like Tanya. Go ahead.
I'm a woodworker, right? And outside of that, prior to that whole woodworking thing, like I was very much into working on cars and things like that. Why is there such thing as too much tools? Have you seen the workshop? I mean, the gigantic toolbox here. There's all a huge stack of Milwaukee back there. There's no such thing as too much tools because
I
tools is
would
how you go faster. So I don't get that.
no. I would so here's my answer, and I don't know what Tanya would say, but my answer is that I think, and I know that this is true for me, I get on a kick where I want to get more organized and I want to save time and I want to be more efficient and I just want to be better at it. And then I go through all of the tools that I have spent money on and realize that I'm using two of them. Like I know how to use two of the 9,000 tools that I have on my computer. So I'm actually like just hoarding tools instead of actually using them. So I am someone that would actually benefit from walking through and saying, hey, do I need all of these tools that I'm hoarding? Or should I have like a tool yard sale and just get rid of a bunch of them? Because I'm spending money that I don't need to be spending, or I should be using like the 6 tools I downloaded, and instead I'm playing around with other things that are not helpful. Like I think I think you're right. If you have all of the correct tools and you are buying correct tools and you know how to use them and you're using them for your workshop or your podcast or whatever, great, you're killing it. But I think there's a lot of people out there who just bought everything because someone on YouTube told them to, and now is sitting there going, oh no, I have all these things. And digital stuff is
So
way easier to
you
buy.
bring 100%. That this is very true. So you brought something of value. Number one, my friend Evie, you know what she does with her lifetime deal she get from AppSumo? If she doesn't like the tool, she sells it. I never thought of that. Wouldn't I don't have the that's not in my
Yeah.
I'll just delete it. Like, but
Yard sale. Yes.
she would sell her
Yeah.
her license.
Yeah.
And then I would tell you to jump off a bridge, but doesn't mean you're going to do it. What happens is you're an adult. You need to pull up your drawers and make your own decisions.
Yeah.
Now, when you buy a tool, a lot of people, what they do, and me too, I'm not going to say I don't, but if you get the tool and you don't immediately put yourself on the path to learn how to use it, it
Yeah.
will become a useless, unnecessary thing in your quiver that you're not using.
Yeah.
But if you buy a tool and under that 30 days that you get for free or 14 or 7 or whatever, if you put it to work, I mean, like really like knock the brakes off of it, then you'll understand whether you should continue to march or not.
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, what we do is we find a cool little feature and we like that little feature, and we're not willing to accept that we buy this tool for this one feature.
Oh, 100. Yeah. No, I am. I buy the tool
Okay.
for the one little feature. Yeah.
Sometimes you buy a tool for one feature and you don't need to know anything else about it. You don't go
Yeah.
beyond it, whatever. That's me with Alphonic. When I found Alphonic for doing a last polish on podcasts, it did that extremely well. It does a
Yeah.
lot of other things which are crazy. I don't even bother with that. So I am fully happy to give them whatever they ask for to do that exact one thing, because that is a unitasker. In the
Yeah.
kitchen, that sucks because it takes up a lot of space. But
Yeah.
online, it's no big deal.
Mhm.
Now, to this day, right now, in the chat, there are 5,100 people that are still swearing to themselves that they're going to get better at ChatGPT. And I asked them in the last week, how much have you studied ChatGPT in the last 7 days? Not used, studied. And then for the year and a half that it's been out, not quite, year and 3 months,
Yeah.
for the year and 3 months that it's been out, they haven't studied,
Yeah.
right? I'm going to look straight down the camera like, what's Miss Nancy? I'm going to look at Gretchen, because Gretchen would tell you for a year solid, I don't like Discord. I'm not using Discord. Discord is difficult, blah, 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 blah. I talk to Gretchen 3 times a week in Discord now. Because you know what she did? She finally stopped saying it and just did it. And then went, this ain't even that hard. It's literally AOL where I can actually see that ugly fool on the opposite side. It's no different than AOL we had way back in 97. It's exactly the same. And then when you stop telling yourself, this is podcasting, streaming, just tech in general. If you stop telling yourself crazy stuff, you will stop having problems that don't exist. You guys are telling yourself stuff that does not exist because somebody else on the internet said that they have it, and you guys are catching that last 30 seconds of last 3 seconds of a drug commercial, you're catching that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? May cause constipation, may make you go crazy, may make you say weird things in the dark, blah, blah, blah. Now all of a
Will
sudden you talk to your
always kill
doctor,
you. It's
you go
all at
to
the
the
end is always kill you. Yeah.
you go to the doctor, I say weird stuff in the dark. No, you don't. Like you just saw it on a commercial and now you think you have it. So I fully get the concept, the app therapy. It sounds like a fantastic plan, but I challenge you before you throw tools away, go dive back in.
Yeah, go
Now,
dive back. Yes, exactly. Review, audit, review, figure out what you
audit
need.
review, check,
Take a
check and
look at
see.
your system. Yeah, we've been on a kick this year about it. So you will hear this in Leap, which is upcoming in April. You'll hear it at Creator Camp, which is in October at the end of the year. Our focus here at Ecamm this year, predominantly selfishly for me, is let's create a system that works for content creation and management. And let's figure out what are the tools, physical and digital, that get you there the fastest, the easiest, the most efficient, the cost effective, whatever your goals are, but create the system and then set up a system and a process whereby you're evaluating your tools on a regular basis. I now am evaluating my tools. I'm sitting here and going, okay, now that there is a tool like CastMagic, for example, that I've been diving more into, do I need all of these other tools? What do I love about CastMagic? Can other tools do that? Is there, what part of my system is this solving? Like what part of my day is this adding more time into? How are you approaching it that way? Because it gets to be a lot, and you do end up figuring out that you have a lot saved on your computer that you have really good intentions about but didn't work out for one reason or another. So
I got two questions. One, I'm going to answer Dan's question first because I love this question. I love this question. I love this question. I love this question.
Great job, Dan.
No, not great job, Dan. You're not ready for this.
Uh-oh. All right, Dan.
Okay. Yeah, duck. Just go ahead and duck right now. Dan says a lot of tool places like AppSumo are in early stages. In your centuries of experience, nice dig. What is the best way to identify which one are higher quality?
Yeah.
Here you go. You guys are ready? All right, let me go. We're gonna listen. If I got to go through pain for PT this week, you guys got to go through feelings pains. Here's what you were saying. Here's what you're saying. I am a psychologist. You were saying I am afraid to make a bad decision.
Mm-hmm.
Run that back and let it soak inside your size 7 head. I am afraid to make a bad decision. This is the crust of about 40% of the questions in the Ecamm community. You know what I am not afraid to do? I am not afraid to make a bad decision. Why? Because I'm a grown ass man. I do stuff wrong all the time. I'm a man. So what do? Don't apologize and just change it. We're dudes. You can do that. Right? It's harder for women. It's just the way the world built. You guys get blamed for stuff that's not your fault. But as a dude, you were born with the ability to stand up and, well, not right now, and to handle your business. You also are born with the ability to act like nothing happened. Some of the most prominent men in our country are doing heinous stuff on a daily basis and pretending like it doesn't exist. You're allowed to do that. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. It's not going to cost you any more. I'm looking at AppSumo right now. $29, $49, free, $59, $69. Most expensive thing on the page right now is $100. It's going to cost you $100 to F something up. I spent $100 on lunch yesterday. So
so true. Lunch has gotten really out of hand.
Dude, having manchegos now is expensive. Stop being afraid to make a bad decision. None of this is going to kill you.
Yeah.
And Kat had a oh my God, I wish Kat was here today. Kat had a fantastic post on LinkedIn the other day.
Yeah, she's killing it on LinkedIn.
Taking her work too preciously.
Yeah.
And in the thought process, she's like, there's many times that content don't come out because I am worried about someone's going to think this or I'm going to do it wrong or whatever. All right, here we go. Time for another lean in, people. If you're driving, pull over. If the person who you are afraid of is going to stop listening to you because you made a mistake, you do not want that person as a listener, customer, friend, family member, spouse, whatever. If the
Mhm.
person you are riding with will not roll with your mistakes, okay, let's put it this way. If we got fired because of making a single mistake, I'd have been fired like 8 times this week.
True story. Same.
The amount of emails that Katie gets that said, Doc is so mean.
And the amount of emails that I get that are like, "You spelled this wrong. This was a typo in this email."
And
Email's
yo,
hard,
trust
guys.
me, when Katie gets missed for spelling something wrong, I'm laughing because I spell everything wrong. Y'all see me on my stream. I can't spell for crap. But you know what? I know how to do all of this. So I don't need to spell. That's what I got y'all for. Actually, I got Rich for. Rich finds all my spelling mistakes. Like, oh my God, Rich is so good at it. No, seriously. I told Kat, like, because Eden says she has learned to just say, this is hilarious, and I love her to death. Eden says when she starts having those inadequacy feelings, she
Mhm.
literally tells herself, "What would I do?" Like like WWDRD. Like what would Doc Rock do? Doc don't give a damn. He will roll out there and make the dumbest mistakes on purpose, fall in his face, get up and laugh, pour the alcohol so you can hear me scream. I do not take any of this seriously. No one is going to just run away because I said something stupid. You know what I mean? It's
True
just not
story.
going to happen. So you are legit worrying about the absolute wrong things. So there being said, if you buy the tool and it doesn't work, check the scripts that it says you can get it 30 days, give it back. It probably doesn't work, but just try it. Half the time I just eat it because my time is more valuable.
Yep.
Or B, then
Valid.
just stay out of the game. Like if you can't play the game like a gangster, don't step. Like if you're not ready to fight, don't step.
Um,
Thank you, Stray.
I
I love you.
I agree. I agree with everything that you just said, and I hear you too, Dan, because you and I are similar in that we have time management issues and challenges, but it's worth the risk. So hear that and
Nobody
really
has
talk
time
about
management issues.
it.
Nobody. Stop saying that. Everyone in the chat right now has exactly 24 hours in a day. I
Oh,
don't have
I
26.
I manage my time badly, and I'm allowed to own that.
That's
That's what I
different.
mean by time management issues.
There,
All right.
that's different.
We have another question coming in. So shout out to Media MC, and I want a clarification because I feel like we're going to misunderstand this one as well. So Media MC, let us know your name because I don't know your name and I want to know it. How can I have my guest see my screen without being live? So I'm going to try to answer this until you clarify and give us a bit more information. But if you are using Ecamm, which we assume that you are, because we don't really want to answer with different software because we use Ecamm. So you can invite an interview guest into your show, whether that is being recorded, being live streamed, or literally just open on your computer. So you don't actually have to be recording whatever you want. And you can share your screen in Ecamm the exact same way that you would share it in Zoom or Teams or Meet, etc. I guess the only difference is that Ecamm has two different ways to do it. One gives you a little bit more control than the other. So you could just share a screen, which is again really similar to what you would do in Zoom, or you can use what are called screen share overlays. So see how Doc and I are here in like these fun little boxes, and there's this awesome background behind us. You'll have to imagine listening, people, but we're in this like beautifully designed podcast episode. We could create a little box like what we're in right now that could be sharing a screen or sharing a piece of software or sharing a Google Chrome tab or whatever else. So there are a lot of different ways that you can share screens, but you can do it in Ecamm. Again, whether you are recording it, whether you are live streaming it, or literally if you just want to have a meeting that you're not recording or sending out anywhere, you can do it with Ecamm's interview mode. So you can bring anyone in, up to 10 guests, and you have to have a pro level account in Ecamm to have interview functionality.
Yeah. So,
And hi, Manny.
yeah,
Thanks
I
for
was
letting
gonna
us know
say,
your name.
hey man, I think you nailed it. And
Uh,
see, listen. I want to say this because this is so important. The reason why that came out so good, Katie, is because back when you didn't know how to answer that question, you kept trying to until you got it. Like you
oh,
never one
it,
point says I can't do this. You know
it's
what I'm saying?
it's worth noting though, just so everyone knows, because I'm less tough love than Doc. So Doc tells it as it is. but here, I will be honest with my experience. I'm trying really hard this year to just be really vulnerable and honest with my experience because I think it would have helped me as I was bumbling around and afraid to look dumb and whatever else. And all of things that Doc just told me I shouldn't be. I've had those moments. I'll probably continue to have those moments. But I when I first started at Ecamm, I thought it would be really clever to do a demo. This is way before I met Doc. Wait, like brand new. I think we had 3 videos on our YouTube channel at the time. And I was like, I am the marketing manager and I can go on Ecamm and live stream to YouTube and show people how to use it. And I started streaming the video. I think I was streaming it unlisted. Like I was already doing it wrong. Like I had it unlisted. I didn't schedule it. I hadn't told anyone because I was afraid people would show up and ask me questions I couldn't answer. And then as I was recording, I think the internet went down or like something happened. The whole video just went to heck in a handbag. Everything went horribly wrong. And I literally sat there for a few moments and I was like, I don't know how to do this. I'm terrible about my job. I really want to keep this job. What if Ken and Glenn see this video? I had all of those feelings. I deleted the video. Then I sat there for probably about like 2 or 3 hours looking at Ecamm going, I don't know how to do this. If I ask any of the people that are like Stephanie or all these people that I knew like decently well at that point, they'll think I look dumb. And then I just had to say to myself, almost similar to what Eden says, I was just like, do I really want this job? Do I want to learn how to use this software? Do I not want to feel like this anymore? And I just had to force myself to go through those feelings and figure out how the heck to do it because I was going to have to do it at some point. So it took me some time, and I can't say that I just like stayed there on that video and did it until it worked out and, let a bunch of people know that I was online trying to do it. No, I backed out and I watched a bunch more videos and I learned how to use the software better and I asked a bunch more questions and I tried to figure it out until I was confident, but I still forced my way through to be able to do it. So I guess
Correct.
I have all those feelings. I have all those inadequacies. So does Kat. So does Eden. Probably so does Doc to some level.
So do
But
I.
we
I
push
just
through
don't.
them. Like you have to push through
Thank
them.
you.
Yeah.
I just want you to know I'm not a freaking robot. I have these same thoughts all the time too. But you know what I do? I say, shut the Doc, because you are your best influencer.
Mm,
Nick Nimmin is not your number one influencer. Marquez Brownlee, not your number. I'm not your number one influence. Your number one influencer is you. So if
yeah.
you keep trying to prove your excuses right, you're going to win.
Yeah.
You will absolutely win. But that doesn't help you. Like the things that you say to yourself are more heinous than the things that other people say to you. And you don't realize that. So you keep saying things to yourself.
Yeah.
And again, I listen. I know that my mom would tell you in point blank she would never change her mind about having me. I was an accident. Don't let her lie to you. After I made her life live in hell because I was the last one. So, well, 17 years later, my little sister came, but by that time she could afford it. When I came along, she couldn't afford it, but she told herself for the first like 15 years, oh no, that was a mistake. I did the right thing. Like, oh, it's so cute, blah, 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 blah. It crushed her. It ruined everything, right? In the back of her head. But you know what she never did? Made excuses for why she can't do something because of me. I was a decision that she made badly, and then I came out. And now she can't put me back in. Nobody else is responsible for that. And it's easy for me to say 100% why I ain't got none of them. But a whole bunch of people with kids like, well, I don't have time because they're my kids. I didn't tell you to do that. You should have stayed sober and, stood up. Not my fault. But now that you have them, don't use that as an excuse for why you can't do what you have to do. Because one of the things that comes with that position that you chose is you have to do things in a manner that will provide. And so therefore, if you want to do this, you have to. If you can't, then step away from it because it's not serving you or your family. Like at some point, these are decisions that we have to make as an adult. And I was telling Paul and Luis the other day, the thing that's funny is everybody wants there to be a solution. Like I'm going to give you a checkbox that you can just check that is going to fix all the things. None of us grew up like that. Not a single one of us, because everybody in here is over 40. None of us, well, except Katie.
I'm there.
None of us grew up like that. Why do all of a sudden you have that? Why
Yeah.
did all of a sudden in the last 4 or 5 years, let me give you 10. I'm going to be nice today. Why in the last 10 years did you all of a sudden think there are check boxes that you could check that fix some It doesn't exist, fam. AI is not coming to save you from doing the work you need to do, right? This tool that we just downloaded, not going to save you from the work you need to do. None of these things are going to save you, right? So the work that you're trying to avoid is exactly the work you need to do.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's the end. I mean, seriously, like I'm not trying to be mean today. I'm just spreading some of my pain. but I just really wish that people would understand this is hard, but it's fun.
Yeah.
And the mistake that I have made to many of my friends, I'm like, oh, that's simple because it's simple now. The reason
Yeah.
why it's simple now is I've been podcasting since 2004 when you had to hand code the OPML and XML to put the thing out. So, Paul and Gretchen have helped me realize there's things that I just do reflexively
Mhm.
that, if I threw a baseball at most of you guys, we would get hit in the head. But a baseball player would just boom and catch it without even looking. Just hand come up and catch it. Most of us can be pip right upside the brain. That level of fatigue and that level of like reflexiveness comes from the constant do. You guys want to win at something that requires the constant do, but somehow you don't want to do it.
Mhm.
And I'm going to say this again and again and again. I am going to start every time somebody comes up to me and tells me about their time management issue, I'm going to stalk them on social media. And
Oh,
then I'm going
I know where my time is going. You don't need to start me
you're
on social
allowed to listen with the amount of crap you have to put up with, namely me, Paul, and Luis and Caleb. Um, you're allowed.
I'd be crocheting, I'm wandering around, I'm watching garbage
See, and
TV.
that's completely acceptable. And see, thank you, Katie. Thank you. You know what you just did? You just owned it. You know what a lot of people won't do? They won't own it. They will tell
Oh,
me that they just been watched Shogun. By the way, it starts tonight. Gonna be gangster. If you need help with the Japanese, holler at your boy. I'm a Japanese history
yeah.
major.
Great
Shogun's
book, by the
coming tonight,
way. Yeah.
and normally I'm not a TV cat. Like I just don't spend a lot of time into the TV. I watch Manchester United and people get murdered. That's it. Nothing else. Once the Game of Thrones was over, I was done. But Shogun's coming out, I'm back in the seat, fam. I'll be in the TV and then I'll binge. I say most of my binging for the airplane because I get to move around. So when you guys are watching, say, whatever, Kardashians,
Ugh.
I'm studying prompt engineering.
Yeah, so actually I'm gonna correct myself for Doc's benefit and say
Okay.
that I am getting better at my time prioritization issues because I am I am aware that there's enough time in the day, but I am constantly making a internal checklist and balancing out all of the different priorities. So like I want to be better at like spending more time with friends and family and having a
Yes.
board game night and and getting better at crocheting, and I don't want to just be in front of a screen the entire time, but I want to grow like my new Amazon video stuff. Shout out to all my friends that have been helping me, and I want to do my podcast, and I want to be really good at work, and I want to be able to hang out. So like my list is too big for the amount of time that I actually have, and I'm just
Everybody.
constantly
Yes.
reprioritizing in my head, which
Yes.
makes me sometimes feel crazy. So if that's
So
you, I hear you.
here's what you do, Case. I agree with you. I'm with you. I
Yeah.
have 80 things that I want to do.
Mhm.
My watch later playlist on YouTube is stupid. It
Yeah.
is ridiculous. Okay,
Right.
when you attack something new, do yourself a favor and start with just 10 minutes a day.
Yeah. It
If
does
you
make a
can
big difference.
if you
Yeah.
can survive that 10 without a distraction,
Yep.
okay? This is for those of us that grew up with ADD with no drugs. We just got beat. This is how we did it. You do 10 minutes a day on this thing. When you find yourself passionately loving it,
Mhm.
stretch it to 15. And then when
Yeah.
you love it some more, stretch it to half an hour. And then pretty soon you can give it an hour a day. And
Yeah.
now you're a gangster at that.
Yeah.
But if you start out, okay, I'm gonna do this for an hour. You start like literally 10 minutes in, Daddy Brown mentions Fulham, and then I'm like down the rabbit hole and I'm looking at clips and what I'm gone. Like I'm back onto the next thing. Like, oh my God, this is terrible, blah, blah, blah. You leave. right?
Yeah.
If you tell your family, do not talk to me for an hour,
Mhm.
in minute 11, they will ding dong.
Yeah.
So if you know you need 10 minutes to study, tell your family, don't talk to you for a half an hour. You'll get 15 before they bother you.
Very true.
But
Very
if you
true.
tell them that you need an hour, Scarlett would be like, Mom! You'd be like, girl, I just told you like I need like an hour. I don't care. I need a snack.
Yeah. Very,
Yo,
very true.
Emma was the best. I used to bet people in the chat when she's gonna pop in on Stephanie, and it was like clockwork.
Oh, yeah.
Literally about 45 minutes into any Stephanie stream, Emma would pop in. Mom, are you still talking to people on the internet? It
Mhm.
was the cutest thing.
And
So
and
yes,
yet no one cared that she popped in, so it's
nobody cares.
worth doing, yeah.
Nobody cares.
Wait,
The
I wanna
reason,
answer,
yeah.
I wanna quickly interrupt to answer and thank you to everyone in the chat who's already answered it, but just in case listeners have it at home as well. You were doing your swearing beep sound effect, and, Neil has been kind enough to answer, but Richie Rich wanted to know how you did the beep. So, a couple different ways to do it.
I use a Mackie DLZ creator, aka Roadcaster Pro. Yeah, just a button. It's literally just a button. You can make a Stream Deck button that does that. Yeah, there's a bunch of various ways to do it. I am a proponent of hardware wherever hardware is feasible, and I do understand not everybody can go out and get said hardware, but for me, whenever there's an opportunity to do a hardware solution or a software solution as an audio person with a lot of experience, I'm going to put hardware there because hardware fails less.
Mm, mhm.
That's it. But yeah,
Well,
you can just use the Ecamm sound
I
effects
was gonna
thingy.
say, as the Ecamm team, you can also definitely use softwares
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you can connect it into either a hotkey to be able to use on your just on your keyboard, or as we said, you can also do it through a Stream Deck as well. But that was a great question and
That
a
like
fun
Daddy's answer. Daddy says docs have a person just off camera that pokes him with a stick anytime the beep is needed.
Yep.
Oh, Rich, I got you. Thank you, Rich. Rich mentioned this, and Rich is looking for a cough button. So anybody who uses an XLR microphone, there are legit XLR cough buttons. They will range roughly around $50. You can find them as low as 35. Most of the good ones I see are about $50. And if you go on Amazon and you look for an XLR cough button, they exist.
Hmm.
Rolls makes one, ROLLS. Hold on, let me get it. XLR mic mute. You can look it up under mic mute, or you can look it up under the cough box. There's literally a company called Rapico Horizon, which is literally called the cough blocks, um, which I think is funny. One of the most popular ones in the industry is by Copool, and that's $49. It's a 2x2 momentary microphone switch. That's the strange name. But if you look
Right.
for XLR mic mute or XLR cough button, you will find a box about yo big with a giant red button that you just
Is it
slap.
You are absolutely right though, because like even though software will do it. So in this particular instance, this is actually a great one to talk through because in this particular instance, if you have software like Ecamm, there is a mute button. But when you are like about to cough or in the act of like needing to cough and you don't want that audio to come through, having like a red button to just hit like or something physical to hit is going to be way easier and will actually accomplish your goal much better than trying to search around and find it or remember what you know saved it as a hotkey as or whatever else. So I'm with you on that. In that particular use case, like it actually is probably way more helpful to have just like a mute button.
And to let me take this slightly away from Paul, the reason why the mute button on the Roadcaster works, but it doesn't, is because it's tiny,
It's tiny, yeah.
right?
You need something
Right.
like big and obvious
Yeah.
because you're about to cough. Like you're yeah.
Right. I pulled this up and looking at this remote, which of these buttons is the mute button? Like they exist, but when you look at an XLR cough button, you're normally talking about a 3 inch by 3 inch button. Like it's
And
massive.
it's
Bam!
just the one.
You can
Yeah, exactly.
you just whack it. So
Yeah.
yes, you can absolutely do it without, like Katie said, you can do it with software. You can do it with a hotkey on your keyboard. I
Mhm.
am not a touch typist. Finding the M is going to
Mm,
miss,
yeah.
right? Finding the space bar is the easiest, but that's assigned to something else.
Yeah.
So this is one, like Katie said, 100%. This is one of those cases where, especially because, yeah, see, Rich said the same thing. Ecamm Live mute button on the RCP is way too small for my fingers.
Sure.
Exactly the same thing. Because Rich is similar to me. We both have allergies, right? And one of the things is it's quick. Like you could be sitting, you just got to hit it right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then so after you get yelled at in Zoom meetings all the time for being the person making a like, yeah, it is literally much better to just get a big button.
Yeah, and
Um,
we did. I'll have to find the link later and send it. But we actually did like an entire as part of one of our Q&As months back. We did an entire like giveaway for the giant like custom made red buttons that you could hit, and you could program it with whatever you wanted it to do. But it worked with Ecamm, so that's absolutely and exactly what Gretchen said. It looks kind of like the Staples That Was Easy button. It's like a huge red button, so you can find those. You can find those on Etsy. There was an Etsy shop that was selling them, and they would design them with your logo in them and everything, so you can be really
yeah,
fancy.
that one
And
is 99, right? It's $99,
yeah,
right?
that one's more. Yeah, that one for sure is more money. But if you really wanted to get fancy with it, it's certainly an option. And then
It would look
I
good.
just saw George ask about the Elgato Stream Deck pedal. Yeah, like you can. I mean, Stream Decks are just customizable keyboards, right? So yeah, you could absolutely get a Stream Deck pedal if you want. Ah, I learned. See, I learned.
Yo,
Moving the rest.
that is my biggest thing. It's look, the Stream Deck is marvelous. I have literally looking at 3 of them on the desk. But I swear people cannot get it through their head. It is just a keyboard. That Stream Deck is no different than my cute little freaking Tutti Frutti right here. It is exactly the same. It is this with pictures. That is all it is. But people can't wrap their head around it because it must be some kind of magic. Computers are smart but basically stupid.
I'm answering yes to Rich. Rich is asking, is the big Ecamm button a way to use as a cough button? Yeah. So to be clear,
Yeah.
we don't make it. There's an awesome guy who is an Ecamm customer who has an Etsy shop, and he makes big red buttons, and they're fully customizable. So he was really kind enough to make. We have like an Ecamm orange one that has our E inside. So we did a huge giveaway, but we partnered with him to do that. And as Doc said, they are definitely more expensive because they are custom made, but they're basically just a big red button, and you can assign whatever action to it you want. So I actually think that ours in the office does the like ba 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 like so crazy
Yeah.
sound effect that isn't a mute.
We
But
programmed it to F4 because
yeah.
it is a key that you'll be able to hear. I'm gonna put the link in for the Etsy thing right here.
Oh, great.
Um,
Thanks.
it only had one space left because my bad, it's a messy link. But yeah, so we programmed it to F4 because that key is just open. But if your software would allow you to revamp F4 to mute, then that will work. And honestly, I don't know if I can revamp mute to F4 in Ecamm. I'd have to try that. But yeah, it
I
might
think
work.
I feel like the one we ordered, we just asked him and it was programmed to spacebar. I think
Is
you
this
can.
spacebar?
I think you can ask him to. Anyway, I don't know for sure the answer, but I'm pretty sure it can be done.
Yeah, so
It's
he
the
can program it to
yeah,
whatever you want.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, those buttons are amazing. And if you find yourself handy, if Matt's not here today, because Matt's a handy type of person, Matt
Mm,
Haas,
mhm.
Matt, you can just make it yourself. You just
Yeah,
go ahead and get the parts, and it's very simple to make.
yeah.
But yeah. And there's another one by a company called Griffin, which is called the Big Knob, and the top of the knob is a push button. That one is good because it acts as an assistant mouse as well.
Yeah.
So for me, like when I'm doing my scrolling thing to make it zoom in for demo, it's just like a big, really smooth, buttery knob that you can get, and it's called the Big Knob, and that's made by Griffin. And there's also a big knob made by Mackie. All of the above can be set up to be a massive mute button.
I love it.
That is a fantastic,
Fantastic,
super
and a
power
great
mate. That's
question
one. Thank you, Rich.
a great question to end on since we are there. As usual, an hour goes by way too fast. Speaking of 15 minutes versus an hour, I'm always just like, wow, an hour is like gone every time.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is like we often run into a situation like today and we're like, oh, I wonder if we're gonna be able to do yeah,
Yeah.
you're absolutely gonna be able to do it. This is where again the key effort here today, if nothing else, people, please stop psyching yourself out. No matter what you tell yourself, you're correct. So you might as well tell yourself you got this. Because telling yourself this is hard, you're right. Telling yourself no one's gonna like it, you're right. Telling yourself that like I'm never gonna learn this, you're right. So just lie to yourself. Again, we have the perfect example of lying to yourself that makes you think you can do everything right now. And if you don't see it, I can't help you with that. You missing out what I'm trying to tell you. Like literally, you can tell yourself you're anything and just do it, and a whole bunch of people will listen to you. So just believe it. Believe me.
Well, roll those credits, Luis.
We forgot to do the ending, Kates. If you want to find out more, make sure you go to flow.ecamm.com. Oh my God. Never do podcasts in the painkillers. I'm just saying. Flow.ecamm.com. Drop your questions. You can leave us feedback and you can find, how to get to the podcast wherever your podcast getting is got. And we also would like to thank Captivate. Stop it, Rich. Captivate is so cool. It is the easiest and fastest way, I think, to spin up a podcast. And just go check out captivate.fm. Tell them that the Ecamm fam sent you. If you are an Ecamm fam member, we do have perks for you in the perks department. But captivate.fm, it really allows us to publish this podcast just so smoothly. There we go.
Thanks, Rich. It was an awkward dismount, but you know what? It's a whatever episode today, and we did it. So I'm feeling punchy. I'm feeling punchy today. It's the mushrooms. It's
You
the
know what it
dog.
is? We gotta get Rich to take us to get some barbecue and them pork and beans right then. Then we'll feel
It's
better.
true. It's true.
All right,
Absolutely true.
family. I will see you guys on the flip. And please just try something new today. Just try anything new. That's all you gotta do. And just say I did it. I learned something today. All right,
Yep.
people. We love you. Flow Riders out.
Out.